right, hello. Welcome to Wednesday Wisdom. My name is Ali Taylor. I am the founder and consultant at Wisdom and Wayfinder. I offer done with you consulting to help solopreneurs and micro businesses with employees under 10 grow, scale, and profit with the right systems, strategies, and relationships. And this Wednesday Wisdom series is all about the fact that unless you plan to live forever, you don't have enough time to learn everything there is about running, growing, and scaling a business on your own. And so each week I bring on an expert to share their wisdom, their insights, and their experiences about how to do just that. And today I'm happy to have with me Rennie Gabriel from Wealth on Any Income. After 2 divorces and a business failure, Rennie went from broke at age 50 to multi-millionaire after learning the 3 secrets of the wealthy despite failing high school math. Rennie is a TEDx speaker, and he now donates 100% of the profits from his books and online programs to rescue dogs and soldiers. His award-winning best-selling book, Wealth on Any Income, has been translated into 8 different languages, and I'm happy to have him here today. Welcome to the show, Rennie.
Oh, thank you, Ali. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So just share anything outside of the introduction that I've given. What else would you like us to know about how you got started? What are you up to now?
Well, I'm at a phase of life now where I can do whatever I want. And as a matter of fact, I trademarked a term called complete financial choice. And
Yes.
the whole point of that is I get to choose whatever I want to do. If I want to work, I work. If I want to donate my time to charity, I can do that. If I want to travel, I can do that. If I don't want to travel, I don't have to do that. So it's having complete financial choice. And that was what was important to me. And fortunately, I made it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think that is for a lot of entrepreneurs, we want that freedom. That's where a lot of us are seeking. And so the fact that you've created that, not just in your business, but in all the different areas of your life, I think is absolutely amazing. So tell us how you went from the 2 divorces and a business failure to now you have this complete financial choice where you can get to live life, however you want to.
Well, I think one of the most important things for any business owner, and when I look back on my business career, because I've had several, I've had art galleries, a pension administration company, a book publishing company. I have had loads of businesses. One of the things that I saw in all of them was, you know what, I'll give you a good example. A lot of your listeners have probably heard of Charlie Munger. Do you know who that is, Ali?
I don't.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's perfect then. Okay.
Yeah.
He passed away recently. You've heard of Warren Buffett, though, right?
Yes, everybody's heard of Warren Buffett.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, guess what? Charlie Munger was half of Berkshire Hathaway. He was Warren Buffett's partner. And the key I'm getting is when I look back at my own businesses, when I was in it by myself, they were kind of struggling. I made a living. It wasn't that easy. But when I had partners, things grew very, very well. The pension company grew from what we started with 30 clients to where we could sell it to a public company. The book publishing company I did on my own, and it was just so horrible, I gave it to one of my editors. And at age 50, and I'm starting all over from scratch, I'm using a concept, and this is really important for all business owners. I'm using a concept called pay yourself first. Are you familiar with that?
I'm familiar with Profit First by Mike Michalowicz, so I'm assuming it's the same principle.
Yeah, it's the same principle, only he's applying it a little bit differently. But the concept itself was written about well over 100 years ago, based on clay tablets that were discovered in the city of Babylon 5,000 years earlier.
Oh, wow.
When they were written. And what it says is you need to treat yourself like you matter. And the way you do that is you pay yourself first. Before you pay for rent, mortgage, employee salaries, insurance, doesn't matter what it is, you set aside a certain percentage that you will keep for the rest of your life. Now, I tried it a couple times before I was 50. And one thing or another came up and I had to use the money. But at age 50, I said, I can't do anything different now. In 15 years, either I'm going to be eating tuna or cat food.
Right.
So
Or
now I'm not
cereal,
earning
as
money.
Kellogg's would like us to do.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm not earning a lot of money. I'm earning $5,000 a month. Okay. I think a lot of your listeners ought to be earning well more than that. But what I did is I made sure I set aside 10% of that every single month, which was $500. Okay. So here I am 3 years later, I'm 53. I've got a
Yeah.
whopping $18,000. Okay. So
That you
what?
just have set aside for that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, now I'm on my third final best wife. And she has this realtor, and he says, Rennie, you should buy this 3-unit property. And I'm saying, well, thanks, Robert. I only have $18,000. That's not going to buy anything. And he says, oh, well, tell you what, if your wife contributes another 18, I'll do the other 36, and that'll be the down payment. It's such a good deal. I'll do it with you. So the three of us bought it. And in the next 5 years, because of a team, I went from that 3-unit purchase, we added 47 more units.
Wow. Okay.
And so by 58, the income from the buildings was enough that I didn't have to worry about working anymore.
So, that's phenomenal, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. So the key is, in the pension company, I had a team. In the book publishing company, I was on my own. In the real estate investing, I had a team. If I go back to the art galleries, I was by myself. That went broke in 1982.
Gotcha.
So
yeah, it really is the relationships and the teams that you built in those areas that allowed you to succeed.
Absolutely right. Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's growing a business. It doesn't matter if it's creating wealth. The reality is it's a team sport, not a solo sport.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, interesting question that just came up for me was, you said that you have your third best wife, and she is part of your team in terms of building this this sort of real estate empire that you have.
Yes.
Did you not have that same sort of teammate relationship with the first two?
No, I didn't.
Gotcha.
As a matter of fact, in my first marriage, I have 2 wonderful kids from it, and they're doing very, very well. And they often ask me, why did you ever marry mom?
Right.
It was a situation where when I went broke in the art gallery business, and I turned to her when she was my first wife, and I said, I need your help. Her comment to me was, you got us into this mess. You have to get us out of it. That's not a team player.
No, it's not. And I'm sure that must have been extremely hard to hear.
It was very hard to hear, but it established who I was married to. And we're like, 15 years into the marriage. And a couple of years later, we were divorced, and it's been better since then.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. So I'm single myself right now, and I have witnessed a lot of the people in my life, a lot of people who've been married and now they're getting divorced. And I used to have one friend who would say, don't get married, don't have kids, right? Like that was like almost her mantra to me. And so I've always been very cautious or sort of apprehensive about, man, if I'm going to partner up with someone and be in a romantic relationship with them, like they have to understand what it is that I'm doing, right? As an entrepreneur, like, first of all, being an entrepreneur by itself is just challenging. And then you bring a relationship into that with someone who doesn't understand the peaks and the valleys almost, hourly that you can go through as an entrepreneur. That makes that challenge even more difficult. So finding the right person, it really sounds like that was the key for you in terms of not just the right business partner, right? We always want to know, like, how do you find the right business partner? But ultimately, it's the person that you're married to, the person that's your spouse. That's going to have a bigger determination on how successful you are in those other areas too.
Absolutely right. And I'll give you 2 keys to look for personally.
Yeah.
One of them is, for me, I wanted someone with another entrepreneurial personality.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife had that. She was in real estate. She sold houses. She knew what it was
Yeah.
like to go out and work and earn commissions. Okay.
Yeah.
And the
She
second
got
is,
that. Yeah.
yes, the second is I created a list. I had 20 items on the list of the personality characteristics, physical attributes, spiritual, whatever that I was looking for. And it turns out she also had a list. Only her list had
Nice.
72 items. But, so she met 18 and a half of my list. I met about 50 of her 72.
Wow. Okay. There you go.
So,
Yeah. So,
yeah. So those are the two things. One, you want to create a list of exactly what you're looking for. Have it written down. It's like they do in any goal setting seminar, workshop. Written goals make all the difference. The Harvard study said a graduating class, I think it was from the 1950s, the people in the class who had written goals represented 3% of the graduating class. Their net, their net worth 20 years later was the equivalent of the other 97%.
wow. That's crazy.
So writing goals down if you're looking for a partner, romantic relationship, a business partner, having the criteria written down is key.
Yeah, I have those. I wrote those down. And I have it in a document that I read every morning. So as I'm eating, it's like a way of sort of nourishing myself physically, but also mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. And I think the characteristics that I have written down are not just what I would want definitely what I want in a romantic partner, but also just anybody in my life, whether it's as a friend, as a business partner, anybody that I associate with, being able to have that level of accountability and integrity and honesty and, kindness, like those are some bedrocks of, core values that I'd like to have with everybody that's in my life. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it makes life so much better when you can rely on whoever it is that's a friend, a business associate, a spouse, romantic relationship, doesn't make any difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of core values, I know that one of your core values is that you create philanthropists. You do a lot of that work, and you give 100% of those profits away to different organizations that matter to you.
Yes.
Why? Like, where did that come from? Is that a spirit that you've always had, or was there an event that caused you to want to do that?
I guess you could say, regardless of the time in my life, I always felt fortunate in terms of what I had versus what other people had. And it was so funny. I thought this really came on later in life, but it was my children who told me, no, Dad, I remember when I was little, you would take us to homeless shelters and give out blankets, or we would work in a food line and serve food to people. And I forgot all about that because it was like 30 years earlier, 40 years earlier. But apparently I've always had that. And then when I started to accumulate wealth and I was creating more money than I needed to live on, there were organizations that mattered to me. My wife and I are pet lovers. We have 3 rescue dogs. My stepdaughter had 2 rescue dogs. We're big into that. And my wife was also the head of Berkshire Hathaway's Los Angeles Charitable Foundation.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So she's always been philanthropic. And someone came to her and said, I found this charity that I want the foundation to support. They rescue dogs from environments where they'd be euthanized, and they are trained as service animals for soldiers who've come back with PTSD, traumatic brain injuries, or other issues. And they have a great track record. Not one service member who's received their dog has committed suicide, when the rate is almost 1 an hour for veterans.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a terrible statistic. And I love that I have a lot of friends who are in the military, have, gone through some really hard times. And so there's one person in particular who told me about how his dog was like the thing that like got him through some really dark times. And so I'll make sure that it's Shelter to Soldier is the name of the particular
Correct.
charity, correct? Okay.
Shelterthesoldier.org.
Yeah, I'll make sure that that's linked up in the show notes because I think that's such an incredible mission. One, just on the sense of, being able to rescue dogs. I mean, I'm allergic myself, but I will take all of the allergy medication I need to when I have my own place to be able to rescue all of the dogs. But also just being able to provide that support to our veterans and those who've served in our military so that they get the services and the help they need.
Yeah. So, at first I donated a few $1,000s to them,
Mm-hmm.
and that felt good. And then I realized for $15,000, I could take care of the entire training of a dog, the veterinary bills, the housing the veteran while he's being trained with the dog, the medical care, you name it. And so, when I donated to save the first dog and pay for the whole thing, I mean, it was just I felt so elated. We just did that over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's such a being able to give back in that way. To have the freedom and the resources to be able to give back in that way, I think is another place where a lot of entrepreneurs want to get to. I'm sure they have a lot of causes that they want to give to. They want to contribute to. What advice do you have for maybe a solopreneur who is kind of bootstrapping everything? Maybe they don't have that romantic partner that they can, have that support with. They don't have a business partner that they can have, that support with. What advice do you have for someone who, one, wants to get to that place where they can pay themselves first, but then two, wants to be able to contribute in a way that is meaningful and impactful?
I'm going to get back to one of the things we discussed earlier. Even a solopreneur shouldn't be doing it by himself. Mm-hmm. And it's not nice to should all over yourself. But the point is, when you're doing it by yourself, you've got thoughts spinning in your head. You're not having anyone else to bounce them off of. You have no idea if they're good thoughts, bad thoughts, appropriate directions for your business, inappropriate directions, effective, ineffective. And you need to have someone to bounce it off of, even if you hire a business coach. And so rather than,
that's what I do.
Rather than starting philanthropy, hire a business coach. That'll get you there quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, when I was in business for myself, it wasn't very effective. When I had a team, or I had a business coach, it was far better. And the business coach that I work with now, even though I'm by myself, we've been working together for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We were in a program where we met, and I was coaching entrepreneurs. He was in that same program, also coaching entrepreneurs. And we decided, why don't we coach each other? And we've been doing that for 30 years now.
Oh, that's fantastic. So that's like an accountability partner, a real lifelong friendship. Yeah,
exactly. And that accountability makes all the difference in the world.
All the difference in the world. It's so easy there's another program that I do, where we work with men who coach men on how to translate the success that they do in their business and other areas of their lives to do it. Also have that success in their relationships with women. And so the accountability, we have this thing called the code, where it's all about the integrity and the keeping your word to yourself and building that self-trust, layer by layer by layer on those little promises that you've made to yourself. But it's so easy to shame yourself, guilt yourself if you don't do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. And then you just get trapped in this spiral. And so I think that's one of the really great things about having an accountability partner, somebody that you can be in partnership with, is to be able to pull you out of it and be like, okay, you didn't do what you said you were going to do. Now what are you going to do next? Right? Let's get you back on track.
Ali, that is so perfect. And as you're saying that, it reminded me of what happened the first time I started paying myself first. I was earning $3,000 a month. I set aside $300 a month. I'm instituting this, and then it's April. I've got to file income taxes, and the IRS wanted $3,000.
Yeah.
which was
IRS.
everything I had saved up. And I was so demoralized by that because I wasn't talking to anybody else. I wasn't getting input from anyone else, that I stopped doing it. The IRS just took everything I'd saved for the last 10 months. I stopped
Yeah.
doing it for another 8, 10 years. Had I been willing
Wow.
to talk to someone, they could have said something like, well, yeah, Rennie, okay, so they took it, save more,
Yeah.
or just start again, or at least you didn't have to borrow the money and pay interest. But I was
Yeah.
to do it all by myself. I got no input. And had I been open to it, I probably wouldn't have been in the desperate straits that I was in.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone, another perspective, another voice would have made, you said it was 8 to 10 years that you just stopped.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I read the book again. Yeah, it was probably about 8 years later. And then I started over again. Then I got divorced and the money went again. But
Yeah.
at least I knew it worked.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, walk me through the process of like writing this book. I know a lot of people, there's a lot of marketers or PR people who say like, oh, you need to write a book in order to establish your authority online and to be seen as an expert. Is that the reason that you wrote the book? Or I'm suspecting that it's not, but what was that process like? What was going through your head in terms of sharing your experiences in writing this book?
It gets back to doing things by myself.
Yeah.
I had been doing workshops for about 10 years, teaching the material that's in the book. And the same questions would show up over and over and over again. And I said, you know what? I don't want to do these workshops anymore. I'm going to put everything I know and answer all these questions in a book, and then people will leave me alone. That shows how little I knew. Okay. So when the book came out, then all of a sudden people want to work with me instead. And I'm thinking, wait a second, this went all wrong. This wasn't my plan.
Yeah, I did this because I wanted to talk less. Now I got to talk more.
Exactly. But what I found is I enjoyed working on stages, and I started doing workshops for large organizations, insurance companies, Toyota Motors, and that's where I was having fun.
Yeah.
I did a seminar for like 600 insurance agents in Galveston, Texas, and sold 5,000 copies of the book. Things like that were a lot more fun. But it showed up for the wrong reasons because that wasn't the plan.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the universe was saying like, oh, you think you're going to get this, but we got so much more in store for you.
Yeah, exactly. So I laugh about my naivety. Yeah, it's funny. But out of that is the reason I founded the book publishing company. Said, wow, this is a great marketing tool. And we published another 80 books for people who were subject matter experts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you created your own publishing company instead of trying to shop for a book deal. Nice.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And I've got control issues. I'll admit it.
Yeah.
And so,
well, I don't think there's an entrepreneur who doesn't. I mean, who decides to do this crazy thing called working for yourself, so you can do 120 hours a week, so you can avoid working 40 for somebody else.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's the control issues. So,
yeah.
They have served me in some ways, and I laugh about them in others.
Yeah. Well, I love that you're doing these seminars, you're doing these opportunities to help other people and to give back in such a way. I'm sure it's looking back from where you started to where you are now, like you said, I'm sure you're just laughing about your naivety and how you got to this place.
Oh, yeah. I mean, one of the things that I like doing is working with people who are really struggling. And, because I can relate. There was a time when I was married to my first wife and the art gallery business went broke. I ended up having to collect soda bottles and cans to get the refund money to buy groceries. I mean,
Yeah.
I know what it's like to have no money. And so to be at the position I'm in now, I don't forget what it was like to struggle, have no money, not be able to cover expenses, not be able to make the minimum payment on credit cards. I know what that's like.
Yeah, it is not a great place to be in. I've definitely been there myself many, many times, over the years and taken on really crap jobs just to be able to make ends meet. But, when I think this is true for every entrepreneur. It's like when you have that dream, when you have that drive, that goal, that vision that you can see, you're willing to do whatever it takes to have that vision come true, even if you got to look a little crazy and be counted out or discounted or discarded for a little bit. That it's the fulfillment of that vision that truly matters. And
Absolutely.
especially when you think of the people on the other side of that vision.
Yeah. I mean, when we were building the real estate business, I was working 7 days a week straight for 5 years.
Wow.
But at the end of that time, I could choose not to work another day in my life if I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. So, I know there's like a lot of the mindset is often one of the things that we have to deal with as an entrepreneur. One of the things that I've noticed about you, and everything that you've shared is that there's always been this thread of gratitude that
Yeah.
has been there.
Yes.
Would you mind just sharing a little bit more about that? And
I believe it's, how do I phrase it? Our beliefs run us, and I
yeah,
believe gratitude is important. My wife has the same feelings as I do. We're a wonderful match. We're very blessed.
was that on both of your lists?
Yes, it actually
Yeah.
was. Someone who was
Nice.
grateful for whatever they had. And, she had struggles having been divorced and a single parent. And, I had divorced and I was a parent with two children.
Yeah.
My first wife just decided to leave. You know, I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. I'm sure you were in the moment.
Yeah, I was a little bit wondering in the moment, but after she was
Yeah.
gone, I got to tell you, I was grateful because it was like, gee, now I only have two people to raise and not three.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, gratitude is important. And one of the things I wrote another book. It's called Attitudes of the Wealthy, where I take a
Okay.
dive into those attitudes. And it's things like treat yourself like you matter and pay yourself first. It's do you focus on paying off debt or do you focus on building wealth? What about
Mm.
gratitude? What about donating to others? Uh, do you try and do this by yourself? What are you doing about helping other people? Are you trying to do things by yourself? I mean,
Hmm.
so literally, I've got like 31 attitudes I wrote about individually in this book and how they're important to wealth. Now, granted, I probably only put into practice maybe 5 or 6 of them to create a
Hmm.
multi-million dollar net worth. If I could do all 31, I'd probably be a billionaire. But
Yeah.
yeah, but hey, half a dozen is good enough for me.
Now, were these attitudes that you noticed in people who had built up their wealth, or people who had maybe been born into it,
Oh,
or,
no, no,
or just
no.
had like a larger? Okay.
No, this was about people who'd created it. The people who I
Yeah.
noticed who had been born into it didn't have the appreciation, didn't have the gratitude, had feelings of entitlement, and instead their lives were a mess. And
Yeah.
there's only one of them that I know who you might say might have been born into it, but he created his own wealth. And then when his parents passed away, he inherited a whole lot more. But the point is, prior to that, he went out on his own and built his own.
Yeah. So he already developed the personality and the characteristics necessary to not only sustain that type of wealth, but then to build upon it.
Exactly. So when
Yeah.
his parents died and he inherited a fortune, it didn't change his lifestyle at all, didn't change him at all. It's just like, okay, I've got extra. So what?
Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorite thoughts or maxims is that wealth, things like wealth, marriage, love, all those things doesn't change who you are, just reveals more of who you already are or who you
Oh,
already believe you are.
Warren Buffett had the most beautiful expression to match what you just said. He said, of the billionaires I have known, um, oh gosh, now the quote's escaping me. Of the billionaires I have known, if they were jerks before they had money, they
Yeah.
were simply jerks with $1 billion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's so true.
yeah, who you are doesn't change. It just reveals more accurately who you are.
Yeah, and I think I was having this conversation with someone who works with a lot of ultra high net worth individuals, and we were talking about how those who don't have wealth will often bite their thumb or thumb their noses at those who do have wealth, and they'll categorize people as jerks, they're rude, they're mean, like just say all types of like mean and nasty things.
Yeah.
But I think that's their internal belief about maybe what they would do if they had that kind of money, right? Like they don't. Yeah,
it's more like Aesop's fable, where the fox, I think it was the fox, is jumping up, trying to grab some grapes or apples from some tree, can't reach it, and therefore says, the food is probably rotten anyway.
Yes.
It's because they don't have the ability to create it. Therefore, they denigrate the people who have the ability to create it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so, and I think that's to mask maybe the heartache or the disappointment, or the shame in themselves for not being able to attain that.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. And there's a terrific book I read by Martin Housel. Oh, shoot, I'm so bad. At my age, just things don't work as well as they used to in my brain. But it was called The Psychology of Money. And he points out so many interesting things in it. As an example, let's say that you see some person driving a Bugatti or a Rolls Royce or whatever, and you look at them and you say, boy, I'd like to have a car like that. The person driving the car might think, look at me. People are staring at me, envious of me. They want to be me. No, they just want your car.
Right.
They don't want to be you. They don't care anything about you. They're just seeing the car.
Yeah, and you know what? That brings up another point that in that conversation I was having around. Sometimes people with a lot of money, they're seen as a checkbook long before they're seen as a person.
Oh, yes, absolutely right. I remember early on when I started being more philanthropic, people would crawl out of the woodwork saying, I've got, will you donate to this? Will you donate to that? Will all the rest of that stuff? There were causes I couldn't care anything about. Let's say it was a political person I thought was disgusting and they want to know if I'm going to raise money for them. Yeah, right. I don't even believe in anything you're saying. Yeah. So I created a list of what are the kinds of organizations that I want to support. And then I would actually created a little form. And whenever anyone asked for donations, I would send them the form. And I never even saw it come back.
They couldn't even take the time to fill out the form.
Exactly. Wouldn't even take the time to fill out the form. Made it easy to just say, no, if you can't even do that, we're done. Yeah. Which is also a great way of finding your business coach, a great way of finding your employees. I remember when I was looking for an editor for the book publishing company, I created a sheet of a one page that had various errors in it that an editor would need to find and correct.
Oh, okay.
So I placed the ad. I got about 70 or 80 responses. I sent this out saying, please make the corrections on this page. And then I got about 10 of them back. Yeah. That already eliminated 70 of the 80 responses. I only had to look at 10. And of the 10, some of them were pretty poor. There were 3 of them that were really good, and I hired one of those people.
Yeah, that's a great tool to filter out, people who are just in it for, the money, for what they can get out of the relationship with you, versus those who actually want to be your partner and have that similar vision. Yeah,
exactly, and do the work. And so I really set up processes for screening people, whether it's for donations, whether it was for my wife, whether it's for an employee. So having conditions of satisfaction is a great way to find who you need. My current assistant has been with me for, I think we're going on 9 years now. Previous assistant was with me for 10 years. And what I had my previous assistant do was take a personality test before she left. And then when I was looking to replace her because she was leaving, she interviewed the people and I had them take the same personality test to see how well it matched hers.
Yeah.
And the person who matched it the closest is the one I hired and she trained, who's been with me for the last 9 years.
That's a fantastic process, especially because you already know that the personality style that works best with you, which, I think that's another aspect of it, is that you have to know yourself really well. So did you take that personality test for yourself? Do you do any of those things? Okay.
Yeah, I also took the personality test as well. And one of the key things for growing any business is you want to have divergent personalities, not matching personalities.
Yes.
It's like if you're a salesperson, you don't partner with another person who has the salesperson personality.
Yeah.
If you're a bean counter, you don't hire another bean counter.
Yeah, I was talking to someone last night at a networking event, and he was like a digital marketing person. He was telling me about, he needs to hire somebody so that he can get away from doing all this other stuff. And I was like, yeah, you should probably get yourself a project manager. He's like, no, I need to hire basically another version of him. And I've made that mistake before, where when I was doing marketing and graphic design and branding, I hired another graphic designer when I should have just hired a project manager, someone who could rein me in and help me create those processes of the things that I was already doing, so that I could step away, versus like, I can just give them the stuff that I don't want to do, or give them stuff that's similar to what I'm already doing, and then try to figure out, okay, let me go figure out sales, let me go figure out business development and all these other things while I'm doing that. And it was it wasn't a total disaster, but it didn't go the way that I wanted, and I had to take accountability and responsibility for the way that business went at the time. But he, was also saying like, yeah, I need to hire somebody else. It's like, no, like you said, hire a divergent, complementary person, not a matching person.
Exactly. And it's so perfect too, because the person you were speaking to the other evening bounced his idea off of you.
Mm-hmm.
And he got better input, as opposed to trying to figure it out on his own, which all gets back to wealth creation, business growth. It's a team sport.
I like that. It's a team sport, especially since all the money that you want in the world is in other people's pockets anyway. So you got to develop those relationships.
Yeah, exactly. And, the more you give people what they want, the more you'll have for yourself.
Yes. I love that. All right. Well, we're getting ready to wrap up, coming up towards the end of our time here. And I always like to ask everyone to share what is one piece of wisdom, doesn't have to be related to business, but just one piece of wisdom that you would like to leave the audience with.
It would have to be what we have been talking about. You know what? Let me add a little summary. I know, and I can do it quickly. Yeah. You mentioned, I discovered the 3 secrets of the wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you what those 3 secrets are. Number 1 is attitude. Number 2 is forms. They use forms to track how much money's coming in, where they're spending it, so they know what's being effective. And the third for wealthy people is investments. They're not limited to stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. So those happen to be the 3 secrets of the wealthy. Let me leave the audience with that.
Yeah. I love that. Well, Rennie, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate everything that you shared. So much wisdom, so much value in your experience. And I am going to link both of your books into the show notes. But also link out to the Shelter to Soldier nonprofit so that we can continue to help forward that mission and help those people as well. So.
Thank you so much, Ali. It's been a pleasure to be with you today. And I look forward to connecting with you and having you on my podcast.
Yeah, I look forward to that as well. So. All right. Well, take care, everyone. I will see you next week. This will be launching, posted up on YouTube by Friday, and also on Apple and Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. All right. Take care.